Hello, and welcome back for another video. I'm so excited to be here with you today. My name is Celine Bilgin. Today we are talking all about hormones that impact fat loss, part 2, things I wish someone had told me along my journey. I am a holistic nutritionist. I am the author of the Painless Period Guide, and I specialize in hormone health and really nutrition for hormone health. So if this conversation and this theme is relevant to you and someone that you love, then you're definitely in the right place. And I'm thrilled to have you. You can listen to part 2, or I guess rather, this is part 2. You can listen to part 1 after this. You don't need to listen to it 1 and number 2, but I do recommend listening to both. So today we're talking about the key hormones that are necessary to have sustainable fat loss while feeling your best. Because absolutely we could go through an entire caloric restriction path, but then if we don't address hormones, then we don't address your natural rhythm of where body fat accumulates. So for example, we talked about estrogen in the last video. Estrogen likes to hang out in the hips and the thighs. Cortisol and blood sugar issues like to hang out in the belly, same with the upper arms. Then we also have other hormones that we're going to talk about, such as the thyroid hormone, leptin and ghrelin. We're going to talk about testosterone, and yes, women have testosterone as well. Then we have GLP-1. We have adiponectin as well, okay? And so these are some hormones that I want to actually introduce to you or reintroduce to you and really demonstrate how they actually impact your fat loss efforts, as well as how you can actually use holistic and natural ways to help support these hormones and therefore feel your best without having side effects from, you just get the side effects of fat loss essentially, okay? So let's begin by thyroid hormone. And there is so much content that is to be made on this topic alone. Thyroid hormone, symptoms of hypothyroid and hyper. And so if you have questions, you have a specific piece of content that you would like around that, please let me know. Also, just have to address, for those of you watching on YouTube, I am quite sweaty. It's a hot day. And so just bear with me, okay? And those of you on the podcast, you might be sweating with me if you're watching this, okay? All right, my friends, let's get right into it. So first one is thyroid hormone. Your thyroid hormone, and there are, you have T3, reverse T3, and T4. Anyways, there's a lot more in depth you can get in with your thyroid hormones, and we're going to actually just really have a blanket statement of thyroid hormones, okay? And so your thyroid hormones regulate your metabolism. One of the first symptoms of someone who's starting to have hypothyroid is a really overall slowing down function of your system, of your metabolism. And you would start to notice it in your body temperature. You would start to notice it in your energy, your hair. And one of the most important connections to estrogen, which we talked about in the very first video, is that if you do not move bowel movements regularly and have consistent bowel movements in terms of form and how often you go, then you end up having more estrogen in your system. And the more estrogen that you have that you don't need in your system, that actually slows down thyroid function. That is something that is commonly missed, unfortunately, that could actually help a lot of women. And so whenever I see a woman come into my clinic space and my office, and I see they have hypothyroid, well, then I always know that they have a history of constipation or even IBS, or like loose bowels. And that's one of the first things that we address, okay? And so hypothyroidism can slow down metabolism and cause weight gain. And some women have hyper and still can create weight gain as well for them. The best ways to support your thyroid and thyroid function on a physical level is going to be, first and foremost, I want you to make sure you have adequate iodine and selenium intake. Iodine is absolutely key for the thyroid, and you're going to get this through good quality sea salt. Okay, it can't be non-iodized salt that you get from the box. Honestly, even Himalayan is fantastic, but not for this case. We want to make sure there's iodine content, and there's less iodine content in Himalayan. So you got your iodine content from salt, then even seaweed, wild seafood as well. That's going to be absolutely key. Should you supplement with iodine? I think that if you can get this through food, then I would highly recommend getting it through food. Okay. Then we also have selenium. The best source of selenium is through Brazil nuts. If you have a few of those a day, 2 or 3, you're also going to cover your selenium base as well. Okay. Mushrooms, beef, and sunflower seeds also contain small amounts of selenium, and that is enough to help you with thyroid function usually. Then another big one is to reduce soy consumption and as well to avoid raw cruciferous vegetables. So if you are someone who loves like a kale salad and then you have a kale in your smoothie and then you have like the raw broccoli tray, it's not to say that's causative, but it is not, it's actually going to correlate with goiters. Okay, and so those are the bumps on the thyroid there. And so I really want you to make sure that you are not eating raw cruciferous vegetables in large quantities frequently. Another big one, and this is not physical, but when it comes to thyroid, I find when it comes to hypothyroid, and this is a blanket statement, however, I've seen this often enough in practice that I would like to bring it up. And hypothyroid can come from also, or a common pattern is women who swallow their truth, don't speak up for what they need, what they want, whether it's in work or in intimate relationships, friendships, etc., and almost just like swallow it down continually, and don't speak up when they should. Versus women who have hyper are more prone to saying anything and everything that comes to their mind without a filter, and almost can speak too harshly, whether it's to strangers and loved ones. There's almost the opposite end of speech. And so healthy speech is a really big spiritual component to this, or psycho-spiritual, and that's where the holistic comes in. It's the mind, body, spirit. And I really do believe my work will eventually be combining a lot of that and really understanding our own emotions and moving through them, as well as nutrition as a puzzle piece. But that is, again, a whole other conversation. And if you do have hyper or hypothyroid and you would be willing to send a comment in the chat or even send me a message, I would be so happy to hear from you and hear about your experience as well. And there's that, okay? Thyroid hormones, really big. Again, bowel movements, soy consumption, managing stress, adequate intake of iodine and selenium, and really looking at the relationship with your own truth and your own speech and your voice as well, okay? All right, then we have leptin and ghrelin. So leptin and ghrelin work together. So leptin signals fullness to the brain when you're done eating, and it does take about 20 or so minutes to get that signal to your brain. And then we have ghrelin, actually, that stimulates appetite. And so if you ever notice, if you haven't slept much for a night or two, you'll start to notice that you're hungrier. That is because your ghrelin levels are stimulating your appetite. And so to be able to support both of those hormones with your fat loss journey is first and foremost prioritizing good quality sleep. If you are waking up at night, if you're hot at night, if you're sweating, if you are waking up with nightmares, if you're waking up consistently at a certain time, there is a reason for all of it. And I would love to help you decode it. It's one of my favorite things where we're like, yeah, it's too hot because the blanket, or my partner gets up, or the dogs, or whatever it is. Well, it's like, no, there's a reason why you're waking up hot. There's a reason why you're waking up hungry. There's a reason why you're waking up for your alarm, okay? And so sleep, really big one. There's so much more to sleep than just saying prioritize sleep. I know there's a complicated relationship we can have with sleep, and you're like, it's the only time that you have to yourself, and then you're tired in the afternoon the next day. There's a lot to it. I would love to go on further if you'd like to. Okay. So another big one is to really focus on protein-rich meals to really support your leptin and ghrelin levels because it helps keep you fuller longer. And if you slow down your meals as well. So this is a tough one, even for me, slowing it down to really have that signal to your brain to say, I'm full. And on my recent trip, I asked one of my beautiful, very slim friends, tell me more about your mindset with food. And she said that she follows the 80% full rule. And I've heard it before, but it started to sink in of I usually eat because it tastes good, because I'm hungry, obviously, but I just keep eating usually when I know I'm full, or it's not even like I would not eat to satisfy that hunger. It was like more than that. Do you know what I mean? And so I started to notice, where is that really settled point where I'm not hungry anymore, but I'm not past that either. And that's definitely a way to tune into the body. And it takes slowing down and putting the fork down, putting the chopstick down, engaging with the environment to do that. And it is harder with TV or scrolling. And I get it, because I do both of those things too at times. And so that's something to keep in mind, because your hormones work with you when you do slow down a little bit more. Okay. Of course, reducing inflammatory foods as well. And this is excessive sugar consumption, high fructose corn syrup. This is deep fried foods. This is excessive alcohol use. This is for some people if they're sensitive to gluten and wheat. These foods can create inflammation in the body. And so really making sure that you can start to reduce that, as well as increasing omega-3 intake, which helps to combat inflammation as well. Okay. So those are some natural ways to really support your leptin and ghrelin levels, because that's actually going to help you with your appetite and how much you eat and how your cravings as well. Okay. Then the next one we have is testosterone. Testosterone occurs in both men and women, and I see it all the time now in practice as well since I've started working with men, is the lower testosterone levels will make it harder to lose weight. You will have less muscle mass. Low testosterone will also make you feel less motivated, impact your libido, and really start to pack on the pounds. And one of the best ways to mess up your testosterone levels is not sleeping well, too much alcohol, and not doing resistance training, and not eating zinc. So we want to do the opposite of that. Okay, so sleep. I had a client this year. He's in his almost 60, and he was a healthy guy, ate very well, and he came in for weight loss. And I explained to him the importance of testosterone levels, and that's what's going to actually help with his fat loss. And I would always point to his sleep. And unfortunately, he wasn't very open to really understanding how we could shift his sleeping patterns and why he was waking up at night. And he just didn't. And I've really tried my best to show studies or to explain in different ways the connection between testosterone levels and belly fat as well. However, there is the connection there. It's really going to be harder to lose weight on a hormonal level. And so you could be restricting calories to the point where you're not getting enough calories at one point to actually supply energy for your metabolism. And then testosterone is not working adequately as well. And then you're losing muscle mass, putting on fat instead. Okay. So zinc-rich foods, pumpkin seeds, for example, and oysters, really, really wonderful sources of zinc. I really don't believe you need to supplement with zinc as well. Okay. All right. So the last two ones we have here is GLP-1, which has been growing in popularity online because it's connected with Ozempic. Okay. And so GLP-1 helps to promote the feelings of fullness when you eat. The best way to naturally do this is to eat more fiber-rich foods. So fiber-rich foods such as celery, pears, quinoa, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, lots of whole foods. And actually, if we can have a minimum of 25 grams of fiber per day, you're crushing it. That's the minimum requirement. And that really requires having whole foods at every single meal. Okay, and so if you can do this, you're going to actually feel fuller more faster, and you're going to feel fuller longer by increasing your fiber. And fiber rich foods end up being very calorie light, usually as well. Another way to help your feelings of fullness through activating GLP-1 is by exercising regularly. The recommendation is to have 30 minutes of exercise a day. And if you can't do 30 minutes, do 10 minutes. 10 minutes is going to be so much more helpful than doing 30 minutes twice a week. If you do 10 minutes, let's say it's on a treadmill if you want to, or if it's after work, before work, on your lunch break, doesn't matter when, you get 10 minutes, you build the habit. That is going to do wonders for your heart health, and it's going to do wonders for fat loss as well. The other thing I want to share here is that the herb, which is a shrub really, berberine, has been shown to potentially increase GLP-1 production and secretion, and it's also really helpful for blood sugar levels. If you've heard of it before, I have recommended berberine to clients who have successfully reduced their blood sugar levels, who maybe had prediabetes or going in that direction, along with other blood sugar regulation tips. And I can make a whole video on that as well. The last hormone is adiponectin, okay? And so this is a hormone that helps with insulin sensitivity and inflammation in the body. The best way to support this hormone is to consume more omega-3s, okay? Omega-3 is found in walnuts, found in sardines, found in salmon, found in mackerel, found in chia seeds. Really, really important. Cod liver oil even as well, which I'm a huge fan of. Blueberries and legumes have also been found to be beneficial foods to activate this hormone. The studies also find that magnesium supplementation can increase adiponectin levels and improve insulin sensitivity. And if you've heard me before, you know how big of a fan I am of magnesium supplementation. There are different types of magnesium out there. You want to make sure you get the right one for yourself, and I'd love to help you with that. Then the last point on this is that the studies also find that individuals with higher vitamin D levels have higher adiponectin levels. And vitamin D has been found to improve insulin sensitivity and reduce inflammation. Vitamin D can be found by getting sunlight, okay? And ideally before it's blazing hot, like it is lately. So really before 10 a.m., but man, even like 8 o'clock can be super hot out there. Evening sun is also great, okay? So sunlight. Then we do have vitamin D supplementation, which I do recommend if you're in North America like I am and don't get to have your bare skin touching the sun. Not touching the sun, you know what I mean? Sunlight touching your skin. And then sometimes wild mushrooms and free-range eggs can also have vitamin D levels, though I wouldn't count on that as well, okay? Grass-fed butter can have vitamin D levels, and then we also have wild salmon can have vitamin D levels as well, okay? So there you have it. We talked about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hormones in part 2 that are going to help you with your fat loss goals while helping you have your glow on, feel your best, have cravings under control, and really be in the healthy body that you want to, okay? So if you have any questions, you have content requests, if you would like to work with me one-on-one, I do have a 20-minute complimentary consult that I highly recommend booking in for. It's to see if we're a good fit for each other. I'd like to know a little bit more about your goals, what you've tried, etc. Okay, so I'll have the links for you below. There is nothing you will lose by having that conversation. I am here to add value to you, and so I would love to hear from you, okay? So thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you next time, and see you then. Bye.